Now, if you all remember, Tom presented for us at the hotel when we were there.
4 years ago.
How many?
4.
4 years ago. Dirt was new 4 years ago.
Wow, yeah. Okay, sure. I'm gonna hang myself here if I'm not careful. Okay.
Tom.
Take me a minute to get set up here. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I had this all organized, you know, but, all right. Thank you. This is a song called Rose. Good to be back. Good to be back. This is a really amazing group. Tonight we're going to talk about a little bit about using the guitar in songwriting and various aspects that you may have thought of, you may not have. I hope I'm going to provoke some thought. I'm a classically trained musician, but a self-taught guitar player. I took lessons for 6 months when I was 14, hated it so much I quit. And my teacher taught me a lot of really good basics, a really good understanding of how the notes work up and down the neck. But he wanted me to turn into the next Chet Atkins, and I wanted to be the next Paul McCartney, and it just was like, okay, we're done here. But anyway, I got hooked up with a lot of guitar players at my high school, and we played folk music. We played all the Tom Paxton and Phil Oakes songs, And that's where I learned to finger pick. And sometime along the way, I ended up going to music school. I graduated from OCC in '71 and Fredonia in '73. And that education gave me a background of theory that when I got out, I decided, okay, school teaching wasn't for me, but I decided to take all that theory and see how it fits here. And so that's one reason why I play like I do. And then I went out and bought myself one of the Mel Bay Elementary 24 very simple classical pieces and taught myself how to play classical. And that wasn't going to lead anywhere. And I thought, well, how do I make that me? And this song, Rose, is kind of a result of how that all got mashed together. So at Fredonia, I had a composition teacher, Walter Hartley, and he stood in front of our class one day and he said, now if you're going to be a composer, and you could say songwriter, but if you're going to be a composer, you have to pick a first note. And I'm sitting there in class as a junior in college with several choral pieces already published, thinking, well, I did that. And then he said, and if you're a really good composer, you're going to pick a second note and it will be the right note. And I sat there smugly thinking, of course it'd be the right note. I chose it. Which is not what he meant at all. What he meant was, the second note will be right because it leads to the third note. And that's the way chords work. It's one thing to say, oh, you got a G. Well, where does that go? Oh, okay, well, you pick the next chord, and it might be a C. Well, then what? Okay, where's that C lead? Well, it could go anywhere, because once you've got a C down, this note could go down or up or, all over the place. So the second chord isn't any good unless it leads to a third chord, which might just be another G. Okay? But you have to kind of approach it that, okay, you're not done until you're done. Okay? So sometimes that first chord is important. Now, interestingly enough, something that struck me about this, particularly, we'll say non-classical music, pop music, whatever you want to call that, is that when you look at a sheet of music or a chart of a song or whatever, probably 99% of the time you're going to discover that the first chord and the last chord are the same. And so if you ever were wondering, what key is this song in? That's what you do. You look at the first chord and the last chord. Oh, okay. So now we bring it back to this first note, second note thing and say, okay, when you're going to start writing a song, how do you pick that first chord? Well, you have to pick it from the battery of songs or chords that you know. So the more chords that you know, the more options you have. Now, when I started this particular song, Rose, I knew that I wanted to climb up the neck. I knew I wanted to do this little riff. And the second thing out of the gate, look, Ma, no hands, was this open chord. And right back to it. But then, now that's, well, I wanted to keep going up. So I came up with this, which is a chord that has a name about this long, and it doesn't matter. It's this, and then this little run. And then I do it again. And so there was a pattern to it. But it was all based on the fact that I could do that in the key of A, but I can't do that in the key of G. I can't do it in the key of E. Not that way, anyway. And so that's what kind of dictated where I was going to start. And the fact that I've got an A chord and I finger it this way instead of this way, okay, show it to everybody. A lot of people do it this way. I do it this way with one surrounded by 2 and 3, which allows me a whole lot of movement that I don't get any other way. Like for instance, watch this. See how many fingers leave my hand to go to a D? You see, that's magic. This one didn't move. This one slid, and whoosh. So I can go back and forth real quick. And so, again, it's a matter of, where does this first chord lead, and what are we going to do? If I'm singing, I may not choose A because it's a difficult key to sing in. If you look at the Beatles catalog, a very large portion of their songs are in the key of A, because that was comfortable for John Lennon, and Paul McCartney didn't care what key was in. Anyway, what I want to do is just kind of knock around about guitar playing and songwriting and chording and stuff like that. But every once in a while, we will be in the grocery store or a mall or something like that. Well, not very often at a mall. Anyway, I'll be McDonald's is a good place to do this too. And all of a sudden, I'll be sitting there listening to the background music and thinking, "My God, this song is monotonous." And it's like, okay, there's only 3 notes in this melody. Why doesn't this person sing something else? And then, my wife gets tired of me saying, "Whoa, did you hear that? There was a 4th note." That's impressive. So I wrote this song. You can sing along with the chorus as it goes. I'm not going to sing you the whole thing, but this is the gist of it. This is a song with the same 3 notes as many songs before. It's designed to drive the melody down to the killing floor. It's probably gonna drive you crazy. Seems that might just be the point. It's devoid of all melisma and creative counterpoint. Here's the chorus. I'm singing those same 3 notes, digging those same 3 notes. I'm singing those same 3 notes, same 3 notes. Songwriting ought to be more than just a numbing, mindless game, an exercise in inanity, till every song sounds the same. Sing along. I'm singing those same 3 notes, I'm digging those same 3 notes. Back to singing. I'm singing those same 3 notes, same 3 notes. So, a lot of songs that I've written were kind of inspired by 60s folk singer, songwriter Donovan, who specialized in songs with very limited notes and a melody. He could write a song with 4 notes and you'd think, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful. How did he do that?" Well, because he combined it with some very oddball chording, and sometimes there weren't very many chords either. And so I came up with this thing. And I was fiddling around with a chord movement, and I thought, how can I make just one chord sound interesting? And it went something like this. It's called the minstrel. The minstrel sang his songs again. The minstrel sang for free. And I remember one soft night he sang for you and me. A song of love undying and of his lady fair. But when we turned to listen, the minstrel wasn't there. The minstrel sang his songs again. The minstrel sang for free. And I remember one soft night he sang for you and me. He sang for you and me. And that's what we call in the business a manual fade. Every once in a while, actually most of the time when I decide to sit down and write a song, if it's lyrics, I have to go with what the lyrics are telling me and how because they sing to me. And so I work with a couple of lyricists who write me some beautiful stuff, and I just, I look at the page and I say, okay, words just sing to me. What do you sound like? And the way these people write, they're very, very, very musical, even though neither of them are musicians, but they have a way with words. They're wordsmiths. And I can look at that and say, oh, I already know what the melody is. And I was told once, somebody handed me a set of lyrics and said, can you do anything with it? And I said, I don't know, let me just think about it. And he said, oh. And I said, what's oh? What does that mean? He said, oh, well, when you say you're going to think about it, that means you've already written the chorus and you're working on the verse. oh, does it? I don't know, that's what he told me. Anyway, but if I'm writing an instrumental, what I'll do is I'll look down at the guitar and say, where haven't I been in a while? And because of my training, because of my understanding of the board, I can say, oh, well, I can just start anywhere. So I'll just take my fingers and I'll go, oh, like this, and I'll say, okay, I wonder what this sounds like. Okay, well, that's something, I guess. So where does that move? Well, it's an interesting thing about the construction of the fingerboard is that it breaks down into 1 and 2 fret, basically patterns. Sometimes 3, but that's just 2 with an extra 1, with a bonus. But basically you're working against two frets, or 1 fret. So if you take this, and you do that, you get something. If you do this, you get something else. If you do this, and all of a sudden, you're doing something, and all I did was drop my 2 fingers in there. Hadn't planned on putting them on the 6th fret, but that's where they went. Now if I put those same 2 fingers on the 6th fret on 2 other strings, ends up sounding like that. Isn't that lovely? You're saying, Tom, don't do that again. And after a while, you can say, all right, I guess I could get used to that. See, and all of a sudden I ripped it into something else because I knew that was terrible, and I knew that 1 fret away, one way or the other, was going to sound better. Isn't that amazing? So you take it up 1 fret, it goes one direction. Take it down a fret, it goes a whole other direction. Something to think about. So, and you don't even really need a chord. You just need a combination of notes. Sometimes you can do it with 1 finger, but that works out best if you're doing a complete retuning. If you're doing a dad-gad, everybody know what a dad-gad is. Okay, yell up on that. Retuning the whole thing to a chord. It's easier that way. Okay, but still a lot of players will use 2 fingers to noodle around. And once you've done that, you can say, okay, well, let's take this and then see what we can do with these 2 fingers. See, all of a sudden I'm saying, okay, well, where are these 2 fingers? Well, they're right over this fret and right over that fret. So I just say, okay, let's take the first string because I can flip off of it. Now I've got this kind of melody thing going. I haven't even really done anything. And then take the same exact 2 notes. Now all of a sudden you got some more melody coming in, and you can build that into something. It doesn't have to be very much. Just has to have some motion in it. Then if you take those same figures and you start to finger picking them. The trick to that is, if you're doing this very basic finger picking pattern, you have to leave a note off and give the note that you're pulling off time to be in there. You can't be playing. It's like being 2 places at once when you're basically nowhere at all. So And if anybody's up on their Firesign Theater from the 70s, you'll get that joke. Anyway, so that, but sometimes you can take a real live chord, okay, and just start to move it up the neck arbitrarily. But if you take that 1 fret, 2 fret rule, one of those two things is going to work out. So if I start with a D chord, and I say, okay, and I do that, and you say, oh, Tom, don't do that either. All right, well, all of a sudden I got something. Now, I went 2 frets, now I'm going to go 1 fret. All right, so that's 2, 1, now I got to go 2. So all of a sudden, and I've got a scale, sort of, part of a scale, and I haven't really done anything. I played a D chord in all these different positions. So it's just kind of weird, and because it's a D chord, and you're moving it up, you can stay with the D bass. Okay, see what I'm saying? Now, I wrote a song back when I was living in Indiana, back in 2013 or so, and we were driving up the road, I-65, on our way to Chicago, and we drove through one of the biggest wind farms I've ever seen. I know there are bigger ones around, but this is the biggest one I had seen at that point. And I got out of the car and took some video of it. And when I got home, I decided, okay, I'm going to see, what does that, I know what it looks like, what does it sound like? And I studied that video and watched these huge turbines, just slow motion. And I thought, okay, you don't want to write anything fast and furious. These are, it's ballet. It's ballet with big fins, okay? So I came up with this. It's called Wind Farm. All D chords. Interesting thing, this is almost kind of a rude question. How many of you don't know how to play a diminished chord? Don't be embarrassed. A diminished chord. You never use them? Okay. Diminished chords, there's basically a shape that you can play every diminished chord there ever is, because once you play a diminished chord, you can name that chord by this note, this note, this note, and this note. Which means that it fits in like 4 different keys. Oh, but wait, this note right here, I'm sorry, this note is an E flat. And an E flat is also a D sharp, so that's a different note. This note is an F sharp, or is it a G flat? There's 2 different notes, and they go different places. So if you take this diminished chord, and you say, okay, I'm going to move this 1 fret, not 2, just 1 fret, and there's a G. Well, there's the top of your G chord. So all of a sudden, now, if you take the bottom note, D sharp, it goes to E. Same stupid chord, and you haven't really done anything except just paid attention to where this goes. Now, this A probably moves up a half step to a B flat. And you're at a different key. Ta-da! Without, working very hard. So it's a good idea to learn diminished chords, especially if you want to play any George Harrison songs, because he used them all the time. He loved diminished chords. And he used them well, too. He knew how to resolve them. So anyway, this is just, again, it's a matter of, okay, how many chords do I know? How many chords do I need to know? It's an interesting thing about diminished chords is that, let's say, okay, you've got a C here. Now you've got a C here. It's the same chord. So you probably heard something like that. It builds excitement, right? It's the same chord all the way up. It's just different positions. Interesting. Diminished chords. Highly recommended. When you have a chord, just a major, minor chord, a good thing to add something to it. Okay? So for instance, if you took, let's say, a C chord. Okay? Now, you've got this pinky hanging out, doing nothing, right? So you got to say, okay, where does this pinky go? Well, it's kind of hanging out right above the 3rd fret. Now watch what I'm going to do. Again, I haven't really done much except move that finger around and accommodated it down here. That's the trick to this whole finger style thing, is that you have to pay attention to what's going on down here and accommodate it down here. And how do you do that? Well, that might take some study. That might actually be a good idea to go and find out, well, how do you play some classical guitar and see what those guys are doing. So, when they do... This is Lagrima, okay? Beautiful tune, okay? But it's just an interesting piece. It's going against this open B string. So you do this, you walk it up here, you walk it up again. It always goes back to that B string. It's B, 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 it's all the way through. That is a very, very well-known classical music piece. But if you play it, if you kind of rearrange it in the key of G, what you have is same thing. It's exactly the same thing. It's the same motion, and that you will learn from about 5 minutes worth of classical music study. It's worth it. You can find all kinds of stuff on the internet, how to do that. It's well explained. You can copy it. And you don't even really have to understand about the keys and the modes and all that other stuff. It's all positions. And a lot of classical music, early classical music, was written with tab. So a lot of classical music musicians, guitar players, don't like tab. But hey, that's where it all started, And you go back to the German lute music, and wow. It's all done not with numbers. The tab is with letters. Letters? Wait a minute. There's an H note in German lute tab, because A is the nut position. So B, the second letter, is the first fret. C, the third letter, is the second fret. The fourth letter is the third fret, and it's dizzying. Okay? Now, when we come to that, we say, okay, that's an interesting thing, Tom, but what can you do with it? Well, it just so happens that while we don't normally have an H note, we do have the other 7 notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. No sharps, no flats yet, okay? And I know I did this last time I was here 4 years ago, and it was a lot of fun. We are about to write a song. Okay, you're gonna give me the nuts and bolts of a song. So what I need to do is have 4 people give me a letter name. Now, here's the rules. No sharps, no flats, and you can't repeat the same letter name back to back. If you start with an A, go to a B, you can go back to the A. But if you go someplace else, it's up to you. But what I need is a letter name, A, B, C, D, F, G, first note, songwriter. Give me a letter name.
B.
B. She's done this before. Okay, now, here comes the second note. You got to lead to the third note. Okay, so if we go from a B where else could we go? Now you've got 6 other letters to choose from, and it doesn't have to be right, next door. So, give me a letter.
G.
Okay, we just went from B to G. Okay, now here's where it gets fun. All right, this is where everybody gets involved. From last I heard, we still live in a democratic society. That may change any minute now, but for tonight, we're going to vote. Okay? There's the B, and there's the G. Or, there's a B, and there's a G. I'll give you the tree again. How many wanted to go down? How many wanted to go up? Up it is. Okay. Okay. Now, we got B and B, G, right? All right, so now I need another letter.
E.
E. Okay. We're going to take this down because it's halfway in between the B and the G, so we'll just go down with that one. Okay, now I need a final note. Where am I going?
Back to B.
Back to B? Okay, so odd combination of notes, okay. Give me about 20 seconds. Okay, all right, this is what you just came up with. Here's your tune. Your tune. That's a pretty melody. Now, it could have just as easily gone back up to that G, or up to that B. That's more of an Elton John type of melody, but anyway. Again, if you take a chord that you already know, okay? Like, for instance, what's a good one? Okay, an F chord, okay? Which you would normally play like this, but you can shrink it down to just these 3 notes and play the inside strings, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now all of a sudden you've got a combination of notes that are a complete chord. It's an F chord. If we take that 2 or 1 fret rule, we have all kinds of interesting combinations that we can use. Again, you got this pinky. And all of a sudden it develops into something. You know, where you would go with that, where I would go with that, it's neither here nor there. You know, that's part of what you bring to the music once you let the music do what it wants to do. Okay? But once you get up here, for instance, here's an interesting thing that all of a sudden I looked down at my guitar and I said, "Oh, what happens if I play this upside down?" And no, I'm not going to stand on my head, but if I play it in reverse, now if I pivot around this note and I take this note and put it on the string where this one is, and I put this one on the string where that one is, Okay? Now I'm playing it kind of in reverse, and instead of and all of a sudden I've got these two weird chords that don't really have a name. They don't need a name. You just need to know where you parked it. You know, sometimes this fingerboard, I used to tell my students, this fingerboard is a lot like the Walmart parking lot. You really just have to remember where you put everything. And if you come up with a chord like this, you know, it's like, okay, well, it's sort of an A9. Okay, so you could call it an A9. I will. A9. There, I did it. Okay, but again, some of these notes clash, but you're not going to sit there for a while. You can just... And I got all that out of just because I reversed that. Okay? Just play it upside down. Speaking of upside down, here's an interesting thing. If you take a melody... Now, I wish I could remember this. I tried to research this out. I cannot remember where this came from, but... Okay, everybody remember that tune? Okay. Right, Romeo and Juliet. Now if you take those same exact four notes and you play them in reverse, you get a different movie theme. I can't for the life of me remember what movie that's from. Anybody?
Love Story?
Love Story.
Is it?
Yes.
I listened to Love Story. It didn't sound like that. Okay, well, you know, maybe I just missed it. Anyway, it's just the same four notes reversed. Okay? It's kind of like, you know, being in the church reminds me, I spent a lot of time doing church music, and I watched one fella try to explain about backwards masking, where the rock and roll songs are all backwards, they have all these hidden meanings, and he said, well, let me explain it to you this way. Stairway to Heaven. And then he says, all right, now I'm playing that exact same thing backwards. Did you get the message? Okay. Whew. But if you do take that same chord progression and play it backwards, it doesn't sound anything like Stairway to Heaven, but that's exactly what I just played. Interesting, huh? So sometimes you can take a song that you've got a chart for or a songbook or whatever and go to that last chord and play it in reverse and see what happens. Great songwriting technique, you know? You know, and you didn't have to look for it and you didn't steal it. You know, there's no copyrights on a backward song. And Bach used to do that all the time. He would do what was called a retrogression. He would write a melody, and then he would play it in reverse on the next phrase, and then what he would do is write the melody going this way, and then he'd write the melody going that way, and have two players play them together because they were standing at a desk where one person was looking at the music this way, and the other person was looking at the music this way, and it'd be one line of music, and one guy was playing it this way, and the other guy was playing it that way. Only Bach could figure that out, you know? I don't know how that's done. I just know it's true.
Isn't because by the Beatles a Bach thing in reverse?
I don't know.
I've read it a couple
Yeah,
of
I
times.
don't know the answer to that one. Anyway, so, you know, sometimes you just have to invent a chord, and that's just a matter of saying, okay, well, let's see. Let's start off with these two fingers in the middle and put this here, okay, on the second fret, but not consecutive, you know. Okay, now, does this chord have a name? It's an A, add 9, add 6, no third. You'd have to put all that in there. It's not worth it, just this chord. Now, when I first started messing around with finger picking and hadn't really spent a lot of time doing much else, I think I was just starting to do classical. And I came up with this song that I ended up calling First Dance. only because it's the very first instrumental that I ever wrote. And it went, now this is an A major 7, and I just plugged in the F sharp on the top. Isn't that nice? And what I'm doing here is just taking what the guitar is giving me. Okay, I put that finger on, now I'm going to take it off. And then I'm just going to walk down the chord. Again, I haven't budged, I haven't moved. Just whatever the guitar hands me. Oh, okay, that's pretty. And if you do it twice, people think, oh, he meant it. I could get used to that. But sometimes it's just that simple, you know. So then we get into things like rhythm patterns. And, you know, I was very lucky to grow up with crazy strummers like John Lennon and Pete Townsend. John Lennon had the largest battery of rhythms, you know. He could do just jump styles at a drop of a hat. And so, you know, if you take something like, and you're working in a 3, right? It's sort of a waltz. And there's so many things you can do with that. Now, all I'm doing there to create that is, now I'm coming down and chopping into the strings, so that even if I take this finger off, I get this mute, okay? So, and it's got this hiccup in the middle, and it makes it more interesting. And so, you know, but then when you get to something like, and I used to ask my students, I said, you think you can do that? Think you can keep up with that? I mean, the whole like 4 minutes of it, just there's no let up to it. But that's Pete Townsend, you know. But the thing, the way to get to be able to do something like that is to slow it down. Now, watch the right hand. You know, everybody's concerned about the chording, but it's the right hand. Slow it down. I'm not really doing anything. I'm just double strumming and changing the note at the top. But now, in the very first song that I play, in my song "The Minstrel," one of the reasons that those 2 chords sound like they're going someplace is the dynamics. And sometimes it's a matter of, okay, you can play this chord loud and that chord not loud. Well, in this, you punch, bum, 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 bum. So, you know, once you slow that down, and you just have to maintain that exact same position of the pulse, and all of a sudden, that's not even hard, you know? It sounds hard. It's kind of like Metallica. You didn't expect that on a nylon string guitar, did you? Fooled him. And again, double strum, but 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay? 1 does not always have to go down. This is something that a lot of guitar players don't get, you know. The 1 isn't always to be, you don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, down, up, down, down, up. It can be 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's just a matter of hitting the strings harder. Okay? So you have, like, for instance, an E minor. And if you can maintain that position in the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you can change the chords all over the place at drastically different times. The flamenco players do a kind of an interesting thing. They do a reverse strum. And that works, we're getting close to the end here, by the way. all I do is take an E chord, and this is very, very typical of flamenco. They do this all the time. And so you take this E chord, you move it up 1 fret, then you move it up 2 more. There's that same rule, and you walk it back down. Now, I'm kind of spitting my fingers out one at a time. Kind of, if you were just kind of like knocking marbles around, okay? And then the pinky goes in reverse. That's all the pinky does in flamenco. They don't use it to finger pick. They'll use all the other 9 digits, but including the thumbs. But that's the motion. It's just fun to every once in a while work it in. You don't have to be playing Spanish music. Just gives you a different kind of a feel. All of a sudden, this extra thing comes in there. It just makes it interesting. But again, you have to understand the timing of the whole thing. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. You have to leave room for it, okay? But the counting still has to go on in your head. So the last thing I wanted to do is finding melodies within chords, okay? Again, choosing a key that will fit your voice it's just a matter of paying attention to what notes you're actually playing. So, like for instance, if you had a G chord, and you strum, instead of going all the way up to the first string, you just simply stop at the second string. Okay? Now within this chord, it helps to know that that's a G, that's a B, that's a D open, that's a G open, and that's a B open. Okay? Two-thirds of this chord, actually 60% of this chord that I'm playing, doesn't have a finger on it. And I've got these 2 fingers just hanging out doing nothing. So if I say, okay, I can just drop this in on a D. Okay? Now, how do I know that's a D? Well, it's in the D chord. Okay? It's the center of the D chord. Want to see something interesting? Sure, Tom, let's see something interesting for a change. Okay, a G chord. 3rd finger is on a G. C chord. 3rd finger is on a C. F chord. 3rd finger is on an F. D chord. 3rd finger is on a D. Okay? So you're just walking up with this idea that, oh, okay, so if you do the G chord, and you strum up to the 2nd string, and add the D. Now I'm going to go to that D chord, but I'm going to play the B in there, and do that. Now I'm going to go to the C chord and do exactly the same thing, but I kind of leave this note off so I get the B. So now I've got this 2-note melody, not a 3-note melody, that goes da-da, da-da, da-da-da-da. It's not much, but it's a place to start. And because I've left the E open, I can chuck the E in afterwards. It's kind of an afterthought. So now I've got da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And now there's my 3-note song. But if I change chords enough, it's not going to be quite as monotonous. Da, 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 and all of a sudden it just falls in because the chord is allowing those notes to either be put in there or dropped out so that they can show up. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Where's my notes? Okay. I'm going to try this one, and maybe a disaster. We'll see. This is called chicken pickings. It has nothing to do with country-type chicken pickings. It has to do with the fact that I wrote this for my chickens while we were living in McDonough. And I actually have a video that I post every once in a while of me playing to my chickens, and the cat came along, and the way we got them to sit there was we fed them popcorn, and so they kind of gathered around to listen to this song. And I'm going to close out with this one. I'm sure you're all anxious to get to your smaller groups, but before we fold up here, does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have too many questions?
What'd you do in that 20 seconds when you turned around and made the rest of that song?
Just tried to figure out what chords fit with those notes.
Yeah, but you had the chords went together, so
Mm-hmm.
they weren't just random chords.
Okay, well, all right, that's a good question. We started off with that, right? Okay, well, those two notes are the top two notes of my G chord, so I started with the G chord. And then I thought, okay, what else has an E and a G in it? Well, an E minor has the open E and the open G, but I could just as well, and the open B, so I could just as well go on the E minor. And then the C major 7 has the B in it. And again, if I know the C major 7, I can do that because I realize, oh, B and G, you know. And then we just plug the rest of the notes in. And of course, one of them repeated, so that made it even easier. But that's just how I worked it out with. And I knew I needed at least 3 chords. The little middle thing was just kind of a stock chord progression that I said, okay, I'm in G. I can bump between. And that was A minor, E minor, A minor, E minor, went to a D to fold back into my G chord. It's right out of the key. Okay. Anybody else?
You said you stopped playing after 6 months when you were 14. When did you start playing again?
The next day. I just got sick of taking lessons because I didn't want to go that direction, but I knew I wanted to play. Short story. I went to a concert. Joe Pass and Charlie Bird, the semi-classical guitar player, Brazilian guitar player, were performing at Saratoga one day, and this was 1978. I took a friend who was a classical guitar player with me. I said, "Oh, you got to see these guys, man! This is going to be some whale of a concert." We got done with that concert. It was like 11:30. I had about a 3-hour drive home. And somewhere on that drive, I turned to my friend and I said, "You know, this is the kind of concert that takes you to a crossroads where I feel like I've got to go home, and this is going to be like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I've got to go home and either pick up my guitar and play, or I've got to write the ad to sell my guitar." It was serious too. And it was this kind of a spooky moment. But what I did was I went home and played for over an hour. I don't know what I played. It wasn't anything like what those guys played. But it was like, okay, now I need to get better. And so, one of the ways that I'm able to do what I do is everybody who would sit still, I would say, you want to play together? You want to play something? Let's sit down and play some music. And I would learn everything that they were doing. And for some reason, almost to a person, nobody ever asked me, ooh, how'd you do that? And I was always asking, show me how you did that, show me how you did that, show me how you did that. So I was accumulating all this stuff because I wanted it. And, you know, most people won't say, oh, you can't have my chord progression. You know, they're happy to share, you know. So, you know, let's see. That's a song by a friend of mine from Morrisville area, and it's called That's My Way. And he played that lick for me, and I remember we didn't even see each other for like over 20 years. And when I got together, I said, oh, Steve, remember this one? And he played for me. He said, I don't even remember how that goes. but it's stuck with me, and to this day, you know. And this goes back in mid-70s when he taught me that. I don't have any use for that, but it's an interesting little run that I can say, okay, well, if it works there, how about if I do this and see what happens? It's something, it's just material that I can work with. Anybody else? Any questions? We good? Okay. This has been a pleasure. I hope to see you in another 4 years.
Tom Rasely.